Having a garden is always a challenge. It's always changing. There's never anything that's really constant. Well, hopefully not, because things grow and they die. So what I like to do each year is just to have a bit of a wander around our garden and share it with you and share some updates and how it's looking. So just up here at the front of our section, this is not our garden. Our neighbour's been planting and growing a lot of vegetables. And our neighbour over the other side here is growing peanuts. So there's some couple of different things that in our neighbourhood that we didn't have last year. And certainly in our own section on our own property, things have changed quite a lot. This area down the front here, this is along the front of our home, and it has taken quite a change this year because we've planted a lot more and we are continuing to change it too. So these yellow flowering trees that we've got here, I've seen some that Pansa pointed out to me that have been trimmed beautifully on another property close by. So I'm going to get to and start trimming these and making them a bit more interesting. But before we go on to our section, this is something that I highlighted in the video a couple of weeks ago. This is a new area that we've actually rented. We've leased it for a year, and we're going to move all our cacti and adenium plants, our desert roses up here. And Pansa's already started planting all along here. There's all these little baby banana plants that she was given, which are a real blessing. So that's great. We'll have an abundance of bananas soon, and can never have too many bananas. So that's an exciting change for us to be growing more. We've got some and we're getting some fruit off them. They're absolutely delicious, but to have more fruit available is even better. So we're looking forward to that. And then coming down here, this is the entrance to our, what we call our family house. This is our guest rooms, or two of our guest rooms here. And this hasn't really changed much. Well, these potted plants are new here, but then we've got a lot of Thai herbs in this garden through here that we planted. We'd taken the last lamii tree out, I think, just over a year ago. And then this whole area is really reworked and replanted, because the other big factor that changed down here was the canal had been concreted in. So we'll just walk past that. So there it is there. And that all changed the landscape here somewhat, because when they dug the canal out, they dumped all the soil from it on our property, which is quite good because it's nice rich soil, but it gave us a bit of work. But then, yeah, we've reorganized the area and planted a lot more there. And down here we've got the entrance to our main home and two more guest rooms. And so down here, this area has changed a whole lot, because we had a couple of quite big trees here that were really coming too close to the house and didn't want that. So we've taken those out and we're redeveloping this area down here. This red flowering tree here is just gorgeous. So it produces some delightful flowers. It looks like I'm going to have to come back down at some point and take this tree out again, because it's just growing out from the stump. So everything changes and things here just grow amazingly fast. It's absolutely incredible. And so that's the very front of the garden. That's the front of the house, and an area that is always continually developing. It's great fun. And now coming down, this just gets thicker and thicker and more beautiful down here. This is our bamboo area, which I absolutely love. It is such a pretty plant and so wonderful to have in our garden. It's beginning to dry out at this time of the season because we haven't had any rain for a few months, but it is incredibly resilient. It's my favourite plant in the garden, and it really doesn't take any looking after or any special care. We don't even water it very often. Maybe occasionally in the dry season I'll give it some water, but generally don't need to do anything at all with it. It just keeps on growing and thriving, and it's just fantastic. Now over here, and this is going into our neighbour's land that we've got the use of. They don't mind us using this, and this is one of the key things in our property and our gardening. This is our photosynthetic bacteria plant feed that we've got a whole lot of bottles of here. That is something that we use to water our plants with, and our trees and everything. I add it to my compost. I add it in our biochar that I make. it is just such an amazing natural organic additive to any garden. So if you haven't checked out those videos on the photosynthetic bacteria plant food, I recommend that you do that. Take a look at that. There's a playlist on our channel page, so you'll be able to check those out easily if you haven't yet. And then coming further down the back, we've got my shed area there that's also bicycle and motorcycle parking. And then down this area, this is an area that is going to change significantly in the next month or so, because all the cacti here are going to be moved back across the road to where we've rented that building, so that they're going to be covered and kept out of the rain. They'll be able to do a lot better than they are now. So they're doing pretty well at this time of the year. It's not too bad. It's dry season, so they're not getting too much water. We've been keeping a lot of them underneath the tables to try and keep the rain off them in the wet season. And then these ones here all need to be removed from their grafts and potted up, ready to be sold, so eventually. So that's a bit of work, but that'll all happen once we get them moved over to the cactus house that we've rented. And now this is another new area. This is a change from last year, because these compost bins weren't here a year ago. That was something I put together in, I think, around the middle of the year. And it is fabulous having a dedicated spot to make compost and to really have a good system for making compost in our garden, because it can never get enough compost. And then down here, I think all of these are new too, an abundance of papaya. You can never have enough papaya. And because they grow as male and female, and in between as well, the flowers are just coming through on some of them. So it's a matter of checking the flowers on them to see if they're going to be a male plant or a female plant, and then we'll take out the males because they don't produce any fruit. And then down here we've got one of the teepees that I've erected during the year. I don't think we had any at this time last year, and we've planted that out with a bunch of salad vegetables and with Uncle Leo's tomatoes, of course. Got to have more Uncle Leo's tomatoes because they're so fantastic. And then here is my bamboo room, which I've also got a video about, or maybe a couple of videos about on the channel, and it is starting to look a bit better. I've really paid attention to it a bit more this year and been feeding it more, feeding it our photosynthetic bacteria plant food, the red plant food that I just showed you. But it's really unusual that some of them are growing incredibly well and others of them are really struggling. So I'll just have to keep nurturing them and paying attention to them and giving them some love, hoping that they will grow well for us in the future. And then up here against the beautiful blue sky is moringa, which I think I planted about a year ago, and it's doing very well. I've topped it already because moringa can grow really big, and I don't want it to grow really big because I want to be able to reach it so I can harvest the leaves and make moringa powder from the leaves. And then down the back here we've got our blackberry that are getting a bit of a hiding. Something's eating them, and I'm not sure what it is. Around the 4 posts I've planted 2 blackberry around each one, so hopefully they'll spring back to life. Some are doing okay, but I might need to put some to spray them with some neem or some garlic or something to try and kill the bugs that are eating them. And then along this bank here, this was a really interesting experiment that I'm doing with chaya and the king's grass, the vetiver grass. So we've planted chaya, which is tree spinach, all through here. Maybe a little bit too late in the rainy season. We planted it in September, the beginning of September, I think, and some of it's growing well. Others of it has died off, but it's okay. It was just a matter of cutting the pieces and just popping them into the ground and watering them and seeing how well they grow, but they just grow like crazy. But they're a little bit slow now, I think, because it's the cool season. I'm giving them plenty of water every day, so hopefully they will spring back. And then along that top ridge, we've planted the vetiver grass, the king's grass, which is also a great thing for helping to preserve this bank. And so eventually we'll have a nice row of king's grass along the top, and that will help to absorb the water and help with erosion. So because this type of grass has a very deep root, so a massive root, so it's really, really good. for helping erosion and for drawing nutrients up from the soil as well. And then the chaya will grow big enough to block out any of the weeds that might want to try and grow on that bank, and then I don't have to cut it anymore or weed it anymore because it's a real difficult area to work. So we'll plant that out and then eliminate some extra work for me, which I always enjoy doing. And then down this area here, this is where we've got a number of mango trees. Got an avocado here that's doing well, and the mangoes are just starting to show that it's time for flowering, which is cool. And then here another teepee with lots of tomatoes, and some of these ones are looking pretty good. And I've also really happy that I've eventually finally got some passion fruit growing. I've got 2 passion fruit vines here, and I've had trouble with passion fruit in the past. They just haven't grown, so it's good that I've got a couple. And yeah, and amongst Uncle Leo's tomatoes, which are looking really good. We've picked some, we've had some right ones, and they are just amazing fruit. So these ones are coming along very well. They seem quite happy down here, and they seem to be getting bigger each year and are a nicer shape than in the past. And I've read this about heirloom seed, that it can take a few years to acclimatise to a new climate. So these seeds I'd bought from New Zealand, that my family have been growing tomatoes from this heirloom seed for over 80 years, since my great uncle Leo brought them back from Italy after serving there in the Second World War. And so they are just getting used to being in Thailand and doing well now. So here is some corn that we've got growing. I haven't grown corn for a while, so just trialing that out, planting a lot close together. Can't smell it so much today, but the last couple of days it's been smelling gorgeous, and the bees have been busy down here. And then here is another teepee that I've got set up with more Uncle Leo's tomatoes. So they're looking really healthy and strong and should be growing well. And then all through here we've got lots of vegetables, plenty of weeds too, and a dead papaya tree, unfortunately. So I've got some brassicas in there, some collies and cabbages, and we've got one little collie that's heading up there okay. And then yeah, we've got all these Asian greens, that some of them I don't know what they're called. This one I don't know what it's called, but it's really good. It's kind of crisp and crunchy and is lovely in an omelette in the morning. And Pansar's planted some sunflowers that are looking good. They're coming on there. More tomatoes, some kale, and as is one of our other structures here that I've made with the bamboo. I enjoy working with bamboo. This is a hyperbolic paraboloid, so I've had not much luck with getting anything much to grow up, but the basil's doing fantastically well. Got some veggies under there, but I really wanted to be able to grow some cucumber up here this year, or beans, and I just haven't had any success with those, so I will keep trying. It's one of those challenges, as I said at the beginning. Things are always changing, things are always challenging in the garden, and some things grow, some things don't. And so we just got to keep on trying and doing our best to do what we can. And the pizza oven hasn't changed at all during the year, but we've got some nice looking aloe vera down here. These ones I potted up that were in the ground. One of them has died, but the others are doing quite nicely. And then that was an original that was in the pot there, so it had been struggling a bit in the sun, so I just put it back in the shade, and now it's thriving. It's doing very well again. And then coming up here closer to the house, this is coming to the front of our house, and we've got a new addition of a couple of hammocks there, because we'd had customers suggested that we need to have some better seating or place for lying and resting in the garden. So we've put them down here near the fire pit, which we've been making good use of just recently, because it's been quite cool in the evenings and the mornings here. So just last night, Pansar and I were sitting down here by the fire and enjoying that. And then, yeah, coming in to the front of our home here. And last year in the video I mentioned about wanting to do some more art for the garden. I've kind of been doing that, not a whole lot, but bits and pieces. But I do some wood carving, and so this is one of the wood carvings that I've just finished. We've put a candle in it, mounted it there and it's really beautiful in the evening. It throws the shadow and the light from the candle onto the wall. It looks really cool. And then we've got some new-ish pets down here too. We've got 4 little tortoises down there that are in addition to our family, if you like. And then one of the other creative things I've done this year is that this screen here behind me, we just had a couple of rattan screens hanging there, and they were kind of a bit old and a bit sad looking, and we needed to replace our kitchen door that had become unusable in the wet season, so I've replaced it but made good use of the old door here as a screen. We've got a microwave and a refrigerator behind there, so it just hides those quite nicely. Then coming along here is one of my other favourites, and this is more bamboo, and this is growing up really, really nicely. This edge of bamboo along here, I'm going to have to start trimming it and shaping a bit soon. It's a little bit thin through here. The dogs like to run up there, so I've cut some branches and left those there to discourage the hounds from crashing through the garden where I don't want them to be. And then further up here, this is the front of the family house. There's not much happening up here. The grass is pretty sad at this time of the year, but we've got a hammock here as well. We're going to replace that with one of the bamboo ones because we really like the bamboo ones, and it's just a lovely spot. The frangipani here is just starting to get some new leaves on it and is looking good. So there is the winter of 2025, January 2025, bit of a walk around our garden and where we live here and enjoy life at Suan Sook Homestay. So I hope you've enjoyed having a look around the garden. If you've got any questions about it, do drop them in the comment section below and I'll get back to you. And in the meantime, keep enjoying watching videos that we produce here about our garden and about life in northern Thailand. You can check out this video next. Thanks very much for watching.